The clock strikes midnight. In bedrooms across the world, millions of souls hover at the edge of consciousness, suspended between the realm of the seen and the unseen. They close their eyes, believing they are merely seeking rest, unknowing that they stand at the threshold of the most creative moment of their entire day. For in that drowsy state, that sacred twilight between waking and sleeping, lies a power so profound that it shapes the very fabric of tomorrow's reality. There exists a secret that the ancients knew, that mystics have whispered through the ages, and that modern man has forgotten in his rush toward complexity. It is this: the last conscious thought you entertain as you drift into sleep becomes the architect of your waking world, not through magic, not through wishful thinking, but through the most fundamental law governing human experience, the law that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you assume to be true must, by the very nature of creation itself, harden into fact. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you will either repeat the patterns that have created your current circumstances, or you will dare to assume a new identity, a new reality, a new world. The choice, as always, is yours. But first, you must understand that this choice is not made with your reasoning mind, not with your willpower, not with your hopes or fears. It is made in that sacred space where consciousness meets the infinite, in the drowsy state where your guard is down and your imagination is king. The man who would later revolutionize our understanding of consciousness and creation was born on a small island in the Caribbean, where the rhythms of the ocean waves seemed to echo the deeper rhythms of existence itself. From the earliest age, this child possessed a quality that set him apart from others. Not intelligence, though he was bright, not charisma, though he would later command audiences of thousands, but something far more rare: the absolute conviction that the world of appearances was nothing more than consciousness made visible. Growing up in Barbados in the early years of the 20th century, he witnessed firsthand the power of belief to create reality. He saw how those who accepted their circumstances as permanent remained forever trapped within them, while those few who dared to assume a different identity gradually saw their world transform to match their inner conviction. The colonial structures that seemed so solid, so permanent, so unquestionable to most, appeared to him as nothing more than collective agreements, assumptions made manifest. When he arrived in New York City in the 1920s, that great cauldron of human ambition and desire, he carried with him a certainty that would soon attract the attention of one of the most mysterious figures in the history of modern mysticism. In the depths of the Depression, when millions struggled to survive, when the American dream seemed a cruel joke to so many, he encountered a teacher who would reveal to him the secret that changes everything. This teacher, known only by a single name, possessed knowledge that seemed to come from another age entirely. He taught that every problem, every limitation, every circumstance that appears so solid and unchangeable is nothing more than a hardened assumption, a belief so deeply held that it has crystallized into what we call reality. And if assumptions create reality, then new assumptions must create new reality. The student was ready. Under the guidance of his mysterious teacher, he learned that the human imagination is not merely a faculty for creating pleasant fantasies, but the very power by which God creates worlds. He discovered that when you truly understand what it means to say, "I am," you have discovered the name of God itself, and that name lives within you as your own consciousness. When the teacher vanished as mysteriously as he had appeared, the student knew his real education was just beginning. He had been given not merely techniques or methods, but the fundamental secret of existence itself, that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you are conscious of being, you must become in your world of experience. The technique itself appears deceptively simple, yet within its simplicity lies a power that can reshape the very foundations of your existence. It requires no special training, no years of study, no complex rituals or expensive equipment. It asks only that you understand one fundamental truth: you are not your body, you are not your circumstances, you are not your past. You are pure consciousness, capable of assuming any identity, any state, any reality that you can conceive. When night falls and you prepare for sleep, you stand at the most powerful moment of your day. Not when you wake up filled with energy and plans, not during the busy hours when you struggle and strive, but in those precious moments when your conscious mind releases its grip and your deeper self becomes accessible to new impressions, new assumptions, new identities. The state of consciousness you enter just before sleep is unlike any other. Scientists call it the hypnagogic state, but long before science had a name for it, mystics knew it as the golden gate through which new realities enter our experience. In this drowsy state, your critical faculties relax, your habitual thought patterns loosen their hold, and your consciousness becomes like soft clay, ready to be molded into new forms. This is when you must ask yourself the most important question you will ever ask. What am I? Not what do I want or what do I hope for, but what am I? Because whatever you assume yourself to be in that sacred moment will begin its journey from assumption to fact, from consciousness to experience, from imagination to reality. The practice begins with the two most powerful words in any language, I am. These words are not merely grammatical constructions, they are the very foundation of creation itself. When you say I am, you are claiming your identity as consciousness, as the creative power within your own experience. And whatever words you place after I am become the blueprint for your tomorrows. But here lies the crucial difference between this ancient wisdom and the popular teachings of our time. This is not about attracting something to you from outside yourself. This is not about visualizing and hoping and sending your wishes out into the universe. This is about assuming the feeling of already being what you want to be, already having what you want to have, already living the life you want to live. When you lie down tonight and close your eyes, you must not think about your desire. You must think from your desire fulfilled. You must not see yourself getting what you want. You must see yourself as already having it. You must not hope it will happen. You must assume it has already happened. This is the secret that transforms assumption into experience. The feeling is everything, not the thought, not the picture, not the words, but the feeling. When you assume I am successful, you must feel successful. When you assume I am loved, you must feel loved. When you assume I am wealthy, you must feel wealthy. This feeling, cultivated in the drowsy state, impresses itself upon your subconscious mind and begins immediately to rearrange your world to match your assumption. Your subconscious mind knows nothing of time. It knows nothing of impossibility. It knows nothing of logic or reason or the way things have always been. It knows only what you assume to be true, and it works tirelessly through means you need not understand to make your assumptions facts in your experience. This is why the state just before sleep is so crucial. During your waking hours, your conscious mind is constantly interfering, constantly arguing, constantly pointing out all the reasons why your desire cannot be fulfilled. But in the drowsy state, that interfering voice grows quiet, and your deeper mind becomes open to new impressions, new assumptions, new identities. The technique requires no special posture, no special place, no special time beyond that sacred moment when sleep approaches. S. Imply lie down, close your eyes, and with the same naturalness with which you assume you will wake up tomorrow morning, assume that you already are what you want to be. Feel it as real, feel it as present, feel it as done. But you must persist. One night of assumption, no matter how vivid, is rarely enough to overwrite years or decades of contrary assumptions. You must assume your new identity night after night, feeling after feeling, until what was once just an assumption becomes your actual experience of yourself. This persistence is not effort. It is simply the natural result of knowing what you truly are and what you are truly capable of becoming. The assumption hardens into fact through a process that operates entirely below the threshold of your conscious awareness. You do not need to make it happen. You do not need to figure out how it will happen. You need only to assume it has happened and persist in that assumption until your outer world reflects your inner conviction. This is the secret that can transform not just your circumstances, but your entire understanding of what it means to be human. You are not a victim of your world. You are the creator of your world. You are not limited by your past. You are unlimited in your future. You are not subject to conditions. Conditions are subject to you. When you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you are conscious of being you must become in your world of experience, you will never again go to sleep carelessly. You will never again waste those precious moments between waking and sleeping on idle thoughts or worried reflections. You will use those moments to assume the identity of the person you want to be, to feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to impress upon your subconscious mind the new reality you choose to experience. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember this: you are not just ending another day, you are creating tomorrow. The question is not whether you have this power, you do. The question is not whether it works, it does. The question is simply this: what will you assume yourself to be as you drift into sleep? Because whatever you assume with feeling in that sacred, drowsy state must, by the very nature of consciousness itself, harden into fact in your world of experience. Modern science, in its relentless pursuit of understanding, has begun to catch up with what mystics have known for millennia. In laboratories around the world, researchers studying the mysteries of sleep and consciousness have stumbled upon discoveries that would have made the ancient teachers smile with recognition. They have found that the drowsy state, that twilight realm between waking and sleeping, creates unique conditions in the brain that make it extraordinarily receptive to new patterns of thought and belief. When you begin to drift towards sleep, your brain waves shift from the rapid beta frequencies of normal waking consciousness to the slower alpha and theta waves that characterize deep relaxation and creativity. In this state, the critical factor of your conscious mind, that inner voice that constantly analyzes, judges, and rejects new ideas, becomes remarkably quiet. Your usual mental defenses drop away, leaving your deeper mind open to impressions that would normally be filtered out or rejected during full waking consciousness. Scientists call this the hypnagogic state, and they have discovered that suggestions given during this time bypass the critical faculty entirely, going directly into the subconscious mind, where they begin to influence thought patterns, behaviors, and even physical responses. This is not theory or speculation. This is measurable, observable, reproducible scientific fact. The drowsy state creates a direct pathway to the part of your mind that controls your automatic responses, your habitual patterns, and your fundamental beliefs about yourself and your world. Research into neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections, has revealed that our brains are far more malleable than previously believed, especially during periods of relaxed awareness. When you assume a new identity in the drowsy state, you are literally creating new neural pathways, new patterns of electrical activity that will influence your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in your waking hours. The reticular activating system, that network of neurons in your brainstem that filters the millions of sensory inputs you receive every moment, becomes reprogrammed by your assumptions. When you consistently assume yourself to be successful, loved, healthy, or wealthy, your reticular activating system begins to notice opportunities, people, and circumstances that support that assumption while filtering out information that contradicts it. This is not wishful thinking. This is the documented function of a specific part of your nervous system. Perhaps most remarkably, researchers studying the placebo effect have found that belief itself can trigger measurable changes in brain chemistry, immune function, and even genetic expression. When patients truly believe they are receiving effective treatment, their bodies often respond as if they actually are, even when they are given inactive substances. This demonstrates beyond question that consciousness, what you truly believe about yourself and your circumstances, has direct, measurable effects on your physical reality. The field of psychoneuroimmunology has shown that your thoughts and emotions directly influence your immune system, your hormone production, and your overall health. When you assume yourself to be healthy and vital as you drift towards sleep, you are not engaging in fantasy. You are directing your body's own healing mechanisms through the power of your conviction. Even quantum physics, that most fundamental of sciences, has revealed that consciousness and physical reality are far more intimately connected than classical physics ever imagined. The act of observation itself influences physical phenomena at the quantum level, suggesting that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of matter, but an active participant in the creation of reality itself. These scientific discoveries do not diminish the mystery of consciousness. They deepen it. They reveal that what appears to be solid, fixed reality is actually a dynamic, responsive system that changes in accordance with the patterns of awareness that observe it. Your assumptions, held with feeling in the receptive state before sleep, become the organizing principles around which your experience arranges itself. The evidence extends far beyond laboratory studies and into the lived experiences of countless individuals who have discovered this principle for themselves. There was a young actor in New York struggling like thousands of others who began each night to assume himself already successful, already celebrated, already living the career of his dreams. Night after night, as sleep approached, he would feel the satisfaction of meaningful work, the joy of artistic fulfillment, the confidence of established success. Within 18 months, his assumption had hardened into fact. The roles came, the recognition followed, and the struggling actor became the celebrated performer he had assumed himself to be each night before sleep. A businessman facing bankruptcy and the collapse of everything he had worked to build discovered this principle at the darkest moment of his financial crisis. Rather than dwelling on his debts and failures as he prepared for sleep, He began to assume the feeling of financial freedom, of successful enterprises, of abundant resources. He felt the relief of bills paid, the satisfaction of profits earned, the security of money in the bank. He persisted in this assumption night after night, even as his outer circumstances seemed to worsen. But assumption, once firmly established, must express itself. Opportunities appeared, partnerships formed, and within 2 years his assumption of prosperity had materialized into a thriving business empire. There was a woman diagnosed with a condition her doctors considered incurable who refused to accept their pronouncement as final. Each night as she lay down to sleep, she assumed herself perfectly healthy, vibrant and whole. She felt the energy of perfect health flowing through her body, the joy of vitality, the confidence of someone completely healed. Her doctors watched in amazement as her condition not only stabilized but began to reverse itself. They called it spontaneous remission, but she knew better. Her assumption of health had impressed itself so deeply upon her subconscious mind that her body had no choice but to conform to her inner conviction. The teacher himself demonstrated this principle countless times before audiences of hundreds. He would select someone from the crowd, someone with a specific desire or challenge, and guide them through the process of assuming their wish fulfilled. Again and again, these individuals would return weeks or months later with reports of their assumptions having materialized in their experience, often in ways more wonderful than they had originally dared to imagine. The common thread in every successful demonstration was not the size of the desire, not the worthiness of the person, not the reasonableness of the request. The common thread was always the same, the complete assumption of the wish already fulfilled, felt as real and present in that sacred, drowsy state, persisted in night after night until outer facts matched inner conviction. Yet for every story of transformation, there are countless others who have tried this principle and concluded that it does not work. They have gone to sleep thinking about their desires, visualizing their goals, hoping for change. And when nothing appeared to happen, they abandoned the practice and returned to their old patterns of assumption. This failure is not a failure of the principle. It is a failure to understand the principle. The power lies not in thinking about what you want, but in thinking from what you want as already achieved. The difference between these two approaches cannot be overstated. When you think about your desire, you are affirming its absence. When you think from your desire fulfilled, you are affirming its presence. Most people fail because they attempt to assume their wish fulfilled for a few nights, and when their outer world does not immediately reflect their inner assumption, they conclude that the principle does not work. But assumption is not magic, it is law, and like all laws, it operates according to its own timing and through its own methods. The bridge between assumption and manifestation often involves what appears to be a series of natural coincidences, chance encounters, unexpected opportunities, and seemingly unrelated events that gradually conspire to bring your assumption into physical expression. This bridge of incidents operates entirely outside your conscious control or understanding. Your role is not to figure out how your assumption will become fact. Your role is simply to persist in the assumption until it does. Doubt is the great enemy of assumption. When you assume something in the drowsy state, but spend your waking hours doubting, questioning, and looking for evidence of change, you are working against yourself. Your daytime doubts become competing assumptions that cancel out your nighttime convictions. The lag between assumption and manifestation serves a crucial purpose. It prevents your consciousness from being overwhelmed by the immediate materialization of every passing thought or fleeting assumption. Only those assumptions that you persist in, that you return to night after night with feeling and conviction, have the staying power to impress themselves deeply enough upon your subconscious mind to become facts in your experience. When contradictory evidence appears, when your circumstances seem to move in the opposite direction from your assumption, this is often the darkness before the dawn. Your old assumptions, your old patterns, your old identity are making their final stand before giving way to the new reality you are creating. This is when persistence becomes crucial, when you must remember that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you are conscious of being must eventually become your experience. Patience in this context is not passive waiting, it is active persistence in your assumptions. And regardless of what your senses report or what your reason argues, it is the calm confidence that comes from knowing that assumption persisted in must harden into fact, not because you hope it will, but because it is the fundamental law governing the relationship between consciousness and experience. In our modern world, where information travels at the speed of light and collective assumptions spread like wildfire through digital networks, we witness the principle of consciousness creating reality on a scale never before seen in human history. Every day, millions of people participate in the creation of shared realities through the assumptions they hold about politics, economics, relationships, and the future itself. Consider the phenomenon of social media, where trending topics and viral content demonstrate how quickly collective assumptions can reshape public perception and even influence real-world events. What begins as a single assumption, shared and amplified by thousands, then millions of minds, can alter stock markets, topple governments, and transform cultural norms. This is not coincidence. This is the law of assumption operating on a collective scale. The economic systems that govern our world are themselves nothing more than collective assumptions made manifest. Money has value only because we assume it has value. Markets rise and fall based on collective assumptions about the future. Entire industries appear and disappear as humanity's assumptions about what is possible, desirable, or necessary shift and change. Yet within this matrix of collective assumption, you remain the author of your individual experience. While you cannot control the assumptions of others, you have absolute authority over your own assumptions about yourself and your world. This is both the great responsibility and the great opportunity of conscious existence. Every night as you prepare for sleep, you are not merely ending another day, you are participating in the continuous creation of reality itself. The assumption you make about yourself in those drowsy moments joins the vast field of human consciousness, adding your unique contribution to the collective dream of humanity. When you assume health in a world that assumes sickness, when you assume abundance in a culture that assumes scarcity, when you assume love in a society that assumes separation, you become a transformative force not only in your own life but in the larger human experience. Your individual assumption, persisted in and made manifest, becomes proof of possibility for others who have accepted limitation as law. This understanding carries with it profound responsibility. If consciousness is the only reality, if what you assume to be true about yourself and others must manifest in your experience, then every assumption you make is an act of creation. Every judgment you hold about another person becomes part of your reality. Every belief you accept about what is possible or impossible shapes the world you experience. The mystics have always taught that to change the world, you must first change yourself. Now you understand why this is not mere idealism but practical wisdom. Your assumptions about yourself radiate outward, influencing every relationship, every opportunity, every circumstance you encounter. As you transform your inner convictions, your outer world must conform to match your new level of consciousness. In a world where many feel powerless, where circumstances seem to control individuals rather than individuals controlling circumstances, the knowledge that consciousness is the only reality becomes revolutionary. It means that no matter what conditions surround you, no matter what limitations appear to bind you, no matter what others believe about you or expect from you, you have the power to assume a new identity and watch your world transform to match your assumption. But this power comes with a price. The price of taking complete responsibility for your experience. You can no longer blame others for your circumstances. You can no longer claim to be a victim of conditions beyond your control. You can no longer excuse your limitations by pointing to your past, your genetics, your environment, or your luck. When you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, you must accept that you are the author of every chapter in the story of your life. This acceptance is not a burden but a liberation. It means that the power to change everything lies within you. It means that your past need not determine your future. It means that what others believe about you need not become your reality unless you assume it to be true. It means that every night as you drift towards sleep, you have the opportunity to author tomorrow's experience through the assumptions you make today. The transformation begins tonight, not next week when you feel more prepared, not next month when your circumstances are different, not next year when you have more confidence. Tonight. Because this moment, this very evening as you prepare for sleep, is the only moment in which you can make a new assumption about yourself and your world. As you lie down and close your eyes, remember that you are not merely seeking rest. You are entering the laboratory of consciousness, the sacred space where assumptions become facts, where imagination becomes reality, where the invisible becomes visible. In that drowsy state, you have access to the same creative power that shapes galaxies and atoms, that grows oak trees from acorns and manifests human beings from single cells. The assumption you make tonight will begin immediately to reorganize your world to match your new level of consciousness. You need not understand how this happens. You need not figure out the means by which your assumption will become fact. You need only assume with feeling that you already are what you want to be, already have what you want to have, already live the life you want to live. Feel it as present, feel it as real, feel it as yours. And then having made your assumption, sleep in the confidence that consciousness never fails to object in. Phi itself, that what you are conscious of being you must become in your world of experience, that your assumption, persisted in with feeling, must harden into fact. The ancient promise remains as true today as it was thousands of years ago. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. But now you understand that the asking is not pleading or begging or hoping. The asking is assuming. Ask your consciousness, what am I? And let your answer in that sacred drowsy state create the foundation for tomorrow's experience. You are not your name, your body, your bank account, or your history. You are pure consciousness, infinite in your creative capacity, unlimited in your potential for transformation. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, dare to assume the identity of the person you were born to be. Feel the naturalness of your wish fulfilled. Rest in the certainty that consciousness is the only reality and that what you are conscious of being you must become. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. It will always be yours. Use it wisely, use it boldly, use it tonight. For in that sacred moment between waking and sleeping, you do not merely dream of a better tomorrow. You create it,